Walk away. Walk away.
No, you're right. But I'm not surprised.
Hoover Board of Education meeting is now called to order. If you choose, please join me in a moment of silent prayer. Thank you.
Will you please stand for our pledge? Salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have before you today's agenda. Do I have a motion to approve today's agenda?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Agenda has been approved. Public participation. If there's no public participation, we shall move to our action items. First one is personnel report. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions from the board? Dr. Murphy? There is no question or comment. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Hey, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
A couple points of clarification on
Okay.
that.
Dr. Murphy and I have been talking about some things to keep you better informed in regards to changes.
All right, second on the action item is participant district agreement amendment. Question from the board? Dr. Murphy?
Excuse me, I want to thank Kathy Ante, who's done a great deal of research for us specific to this item, and grateful for her research, and hopefully we've been able to answer some of your questions.
You want to kind of get a little summary overview of?
Kathy, do you mind?
No, this program, now I'm more prepared. First time she said that I wasn't.
I'm going to say small.
Yeah.
No, you don't want to give it, or no, you
Yeah.
don't mind?
No, I don't mind at all.
Probably something about saying we don't have any choice, you know?
Yeah. We have, along with all the other school districts in the state, participated in this program, which is sponsored by Association of School Boards for a number of years, ever since its inception. What the program does is it takes our data and synthesizes our data, for lack of a better word. It takes our cost data and our number of participants in certain student classifications, and we turn that over to a company that goes through this process they do a cost study as well that puts time and effort in motion. They do that across the entire state, combines all that, and basically comes up with for Medicaid, this is what you could be reimbursed for the services that you provided in your school. So what it's doing is it's taking a scenario where a Medicaid eligible student who might have gone to a private party for some type of service that then the private party could have been reimbursed for Medicaid, it affords us that same opportunity that the private party would have. That's kind of my nutshell description of what goes on with that.
For example, board members, we offer physical therapy, occupational therapy, hearing screenings, visual screenings, and those would all be services that some of our students would go out and seek outside of the school if we didn't have that service, and Medicaid would have to pay for it. So because we provide that opportunity in-house, Medicaid reimburses us that service, and so that's kind of the essence of how that works.
But in standard style for Medicaid, a lot of your major insurance like Blue Cross and Blue Shield, it's on they determine how much they're going to pay you for that service. It's not based on necessarily your actual expenditures, although that goes into some of that formulary that we have to provide to them. So they can determine a reimbursement rate that then comes back to us. So when you look at it from our perspective, there's not, when they refer to a claim, it's really actually a quarterly filing. And we do one filing. It's not based on individual students. So that not only protects it protects us, and it protects the privacy of that student too, and what their situation and condition might be outside of their school environment. So that's the process.
I guess you'd use that data as well if you were talking about staff services or contracted services for special needs students or whatever the case may be. You can also determine, are we spending too much money relative to the market price for such services, whether we contract it, or is it better not to contract and do it locally? I mean, there's a fiduciary comparison there.
And I don't know how much of that plays it. We do include the contract resources into the data that we provide to them, and they have to participate in the time studies as well. I don't know that we could discern that from that particular information just because of the nature of the way it's computed, because it's computed, it's my understanding, more of a statewide averaging
Barbara,
than direct costs.
for example, this is not even an accurate example, this is whatever. If you had a speech pathologist on staff that you paid salary benefits $100,000 a year, as an example, and the number of kids that had speech issues that the speech pathologist worked with, it bore itself out to be a lower rate than the average rate that comes from Franklin and that group, then we'd be doing a good thing because we're saving money by having a staff person to do it. On the flip side of it, if you didn't have enough students to justify the staff person, it'd be better to contract it out if you're going to look at the fiduciary piece of it.
And I don't know that we know how
Well,
much
that's simple.
they value those different services, but just from an economic standpoint, that's always something we look at. And typically when Barbara's adding new services, we weigh those options between is it more cost effective to contract it out because a lot of those you can't do either way, or to have our own staff. And you'll notice when we first go into some of those services, you will see us contracting versus having an in-house person. But that ultimately, yes, would play into it. But we have talked through and reviewed the fee structure and now have a better understanding of what the change is, because they were combining a reduction in a percentage rate but also changing to a fixed fee. That got to be a little confusing between the document, but we've gotten that worked through and feel like we are getting a proportional and maybe slightly better reduction in that embedded fee, so we're pleased with that.
This may not be the place to ask. I heard in Montgomery, or either maybe with you, Kathy, Blue Cross doesn't pay for some services that when it's done in a certain location, they don't renew. Can you explain that? Because I'd like to talk about it.
I don't know the details, but I do know the scenario that you're referring to, and I think it probably goes to whether or not that's a provider for them, a participant provider, and if we're providing that service. If the services be provided on our location and the payment for the services coming from us, that would not be a provided service under their formulas. It's been a long time. I used to do Blue Cross and Blue Shield reimbursement audits, but it's been a long time. I'm going back in memory. But if they're in their office providing the service, it would be something they could file. And I think it has to do with the responsible party between those two and whether or not it would be qualifying for them to file that claim.
Is that an issue, Dr. Mayor, with us? Is that an issue with claims or providers we would like to use and we're using it not get reimbursed, or is it an issue?
No, it's not been an issue that I'm aware of.
Yeah, most of the time we're becoming more aware of those type of scenarios because there are some structures that we can do that we're looking at to ways to provide support to children, and so that it's covered by whatever their insurance coverage may be, whether it's Blue Cross or Blue Shield or anything else, and then we are not then responsible for that as a whole.
That's my question.
Yeah.
So we're not being self-insured in a lot of cases. They are falling under reimbursement.
They are, right, they are through this program, but it's not that direct correlation. You can't directly see some of that because it's a provided service. But there are scenarios where it might be better to refer that child to go to that agency directly rather than have the agency come to them on our premise.
But it's just like a dentist. A lot of dentists don't play with Blue Cross because they have capitation. They'll only reimburse the dentist so much money for some whatever given service is, and it may be a substandard amount or substandard service. So the dentist said, I'm not gonna compromise my quality of work and have the patient expect to pay, this much more in addition to Blue Cross. Likewise, a lot of service providers we may use now or in the future may not want to play with Blue Cross because of that capitation piece.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah,
reimbursement.
it's always a challenge, and that's true because when you're Big Blue, you've got the market. So
The first priority I'm sure everybody agrees is the children must be taken care of first of all, no matter what. But beyond there, it's a business for them. So
It is.
whenever we need to be aware of it, we might can negotiate. I'm certainly not an expert at that,
yeah.
but thank you.
Still, they're not the problem.
Right.
Yeah, maybe for four others that say no too.
Well, thank you, Dr. Murphy and Kathy Ante. And just a little quick statement. We tabled this last go around because anytime we talk about funding that the school system can receive, there's always some questions we want to get verified as a board. Dr. Murphy Brown proceeding on that if we have the time versus just voting on the topic of discussion. So that being said,
I'd like to recommend that we participate in the district agreement amendment specific to the Medicaid AASB piece.
have a motion on the table.
So move.
Second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion has been carried. Next, we have a quick topic, AASB delegate selection. That process is for AASB Alabama Associated School Board. In their December meeting and a few more other meetings, they vote on their new bylaws and any hot topics or positions that, as a state school board system, they want us to advocate for, having a delegate from our system be able to speak on behalf of the city of Hoover is always needed in that, those deliberations in a sense. So what I would like to do, so we can push it forward, I'd like to ask the board to consider two people, one as a delegate for that and one as a alternate, just in case that person cannot make it. So, and I haven't talked to him about it, so we'll see how this goes. Delegate will be Craig Kelly, alternate will be Steve Presley.
That's fine. I'm planning to go to meetings anyway. That's certainly going to follow what the board wishes.
Okay. Can I, with that being said, can I get a motion on the table for that?
So moved. Amen, Rob.
Okay.
I think they're two great choices.
Can I get a second?
A second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed. Motion has been carried. Next, we have executive session. We do have a certificate from our attorney, Don Sweeney. Expect possibly 35 to 45 minutes. And we're trying to stay on task and get out of there. We passed the early, I'm afraid. But we're in accordance with Alabama open meeting law, so we're in there from that standpoint. Do I have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
I have a second.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed.
Hey, Chuck, Chuck.